I take a big breath as I enter the long passageway of trees that leads down to open fields, leaving my worries behind, my troubled thoughts, my emotions. I take a big breath, shoulders relax, belly softens as I step onto the path to sink into the green. The path is dappled by dark golden or brassy sunlight filtered through the leaves ahead, shimmering in the light breeze. Either side of the path, all is berries, all is cobwebs, all is nettle seed. So much abundance. The colour of the ruby red rose hips nestled amongst the dark green leaves which are rusting to yellow is profoundly beautiful, accompanied by the juicy red rose hips and the brown speckled rounded leaves of the hawthorn. So much abundance, so much beauty. I wonder at the people who pass me, eyeing me with curiosity or even suspicion as I pluck berries from the trees and the hedgerows. I feel nothing but happiness and pure luck. Gratitude is the word I was looking for, that I recognise these jewels for what they are, this abundance and beauty for what it is. I'm so glad that I'm not one of the people passing by these riches given to us by nature every year. The sounds around me are of the hedgerows alive with insects buzzing. The occasional one whizzes past me. Leaves beginning to fall. It's warm. I'm just wearing a dress. I love this transition period from the end of summer into the beginning of autumn. I pick blackberries and hear planes fly overhead. The path is littered with the first leaves to fall. They are golden, caramel through to rust, crisp under my feet. Everywhere is the flowers of ivy newly emerged. It's this that attracts the flying insects, I think. They seem to be most excited about the pollen on these satellite flowers. Now I see the last of the bindweed flowers. They're majestic, moonlight, bright white flowers. You can almost forgive them the trouble they cause because of their beauty. Now I step into more of a tree territory. You can hear their sighs of the rustling leaves on the breeze. And already the concerns, frustrations, worries, unsaid words that I arrived with seem a million miles away. And all is in flux. The balance is shifting as we approach the equinox. Death and decay are on the ascendant. To come into balance with the abundance of leaves, rather the abundance of berries, the last of life's great efforts. And I'm stood in wonder now in front of the rusting bank of fern and its unspeakable beauty. The quiet, barring the crunch of my feet, the breeze against my ears, and the buzz of insects and rustle of leaves is a balm against the bustle and noise of the town I've left behind. As it is quiet around me, it quiets my thoughts, quiets my emotions, quiets my soul. And as I pick blackberries, I'm lamenting the loss of hedgerows. So much abundance, so much life, so many species in such a small area. And I wonder how it was in the past to live surrounded by hedgerows, by such abundance, before they had to make way for the mega machines that till and plough our fields today. And of course, it's easy to romanticise, having never done this kind of work myself. But what a loss it is. What an absolute loss to ecology and to human joy and diversity and beauty of our natural world to have so few hedgerows. I stopped to look away from the hedgerows and realise I've been blind to the unfolding landscape behind me, which is one of tall, greeny yellow trees, but mostly golden fields where the harvest has already been taken in. And now a train passes behind me as birds fly overhead. My fingers are sticky with blackberry juice. The sun is warm. I think there's even a light haze. I stopped to put the mugwort that I've gathered in my basket backpack, and a paraglider appears overhead. Birds flee from it across the sky, and a butterfly tumbles past in front of me. Along the course of the stream that runs through these fields, I see from afar how laden they are with berries. And I fight that part of me that sees this as my larder. I fight that sense of entitlement. For this land is here for no one but itself and the creatures it's home to. And it is a blessing and an honour to be able to forage lightly on this land. It's something I always think about when I'm foraging, not to take too much. My feet keep me moving as I browse the hedgerows. And as my bag of blackberries gets heavy, and my fingers ever more stained, I'm frustrated that we don't live in a world where, for those of us who want to, we have no other job other than to gather in nature's bounty. As I gather from hedgerow after hedgerow, there's so much here, yet I'm the only one picking. And I know we don't want to lay waste to this bounty, but surely that's what autumn should focus on. Harvest. Again, it's easy to say these things and have a sense of romanticising the past, But on the other hand, I'm faced with so much abundance right in front of me. And yet most of us are too busy, for many of us, in meaningless jobs. Although obviously not everybody, jobs or caring for people, the most important job there is. But all this abundance, which nourishes us, rather than the factory-made food products that I certainly consume plenty of. I don't have the time to gather in this real abundance in front of me any more than I'm doing on this one Sunday and all the many days that I've missed. This is a difficult topic as it includes privilege, access to land, colonialism, capitalism, issues around being a parent, I suppose, responsibilities people have. But it's a conversation that we should have more, I believe. My thoughts always turn to this around autumn, and it just feels that there is so much to do, and yet I must pass it over. And that is, to be honest, a massive part of the reason why I started Spiral Path, to enable me more time to engage with these things, these seasons, and the abundance that they bring. So I suppose at least I'm on the path towards being able to do this more, and I'm hoping that path will inspire others to do the same. But we are limited living under capitalism. We are limited, dare I say, by our responsibilities to others, which we've chosen or not, but they're there nonetheless, and they, for the most part, bring us much joy. So it's as tangled a conversation as the briar in front of me, and as thorny and as beautiful. Let's have more of these conversations, please. I was reading in my Druidry course last night that we should think of the sounds of nature as music. I would add to that and say that we should think of the sights of nature as art. There's something in the colours of the changing seasons, but particularly of autumn, the bright yet darkness of them, which is my favourite type of colour, and the jewel-rich tones of the berries against the dark leaves, and the acidic yellow and orange of the turning leaves. Maybe more people would appreciate nature if they tried to read it or feel it as much as they do great works of art. I can only hope. I wonder if perhaps one of the reasons I like walking so much is because I am put in a pure response mode. I only need to feel safe, which in this place that I know very well doesn't really take any thought. Just in the back of my mind, I suppose. I only need to put one foot in front of the other and have a drink every now and then, and the rest is pure response. I don't know what I will find or what will happen moment to moment, and there's a freedom in that. I was going to say disembodiment, but maybe it's an embodiment. I'm put into my body more than usual. My thoughts don't take precedent over my senses. I suppose on one level you could say that's survival mode. It's my senses keeping me safe, keeping me alive. Whatever the cause, the effect is peace, tranquility, acceptance, joy, curiosity, inspiration, love of the land, love of life, and being happy to be alive. So who knew that we could get so much from a quick wonder? I hope that I never give the impression that I am greedy with the land, that as much as I have my hermit antisocial tendencies, it brings me nothing but joy to see other people enjoying, respectfully of course, enjoying the land. That's trees squeaking, if you can hear that. Wow, it's broken over the path in front of me. Okay, I'll walk through here quite quickly. I've just come across a group of teenagers on bikes talking about where to go next, and it just put such a smile on my face to see that this is what they've chosen to do with their day, with their weekend. It's beautiful and it gives me hope. Just in a small wooded area now, if you can hear that there's a difference. No buzzing bugs as there was on the edges of the fields. We have birdsong instead, as if right on key. And it's cooler, and the smell has changed. Just ducking through some undergrowth with my bags. My bag's rustling. This is beautiful. I'm hoping you can hear the call and response of the birds singing. So, yeah, nature is for everyone. Land is for everyone. And obviously, it isn't in practice. Ooh, ducking under more fallen trees. But yeah, that's exactly why I started Spiral Path, to have these conversations and to foster a sense, of connection to the land for anyone. I wonder if you heard that train in the background. There it goes. Following on from talking about how walking like this puts me in a reactive, responsive place, which is relaxing to my body and my mind. I am sitting down now next to a fallen tree. I just sat down, taken my basket off my dress, which is sticking to my back. Put my plastic bags of the berries I've gathered down, and having a drink of water and just stopping for a moment. Noticing things I hadn't noticed while my mind was on moving and foraging. The breeze on my skin, on my bare arms. The sound of the trees has come back into my awareness. I've started to sit more when I come for walks now. I think often it was to do with other people, why I didn't want to stop. Because there's quite a lot of people who come here, and right on cue there's a bunch of people with a dog. And so whilst it's a nice open landscape, at times it feels hard to be alone. So I'm just making more of an effort to sit anyway and stop, because as much as I enjoy that reactive mode of walking and constantly looking at what's around me, it's a whole other way of engaging with this landscape, to just stop and take in more of what's happening right now, right where I am, rather than constantly walking into new situations. And it feels like there's an unsaid metaphor in there around meditation, around rest, around stopping, slowing down. One of my favourite YouTubers, Kellyanne Maddox, she said something that she aims for. This was years ago, it's really stayed with me. Something that she aims for on a regular basis is the 3 S's: stillness, silence, and solitude. And she talks about how it's often quite easy, although obviously it depends on your circumstances, but it's often quite easy to have one of these things, to create one of these things, or to sit in one of these things. 2 can be a little bit harder, but the 3 is actually, to have all 3 at the same time is actually really quite difficult, and it's down to us to create the opportunities for these things. So actually I've just realised, by sitting down here, I might not have silence, but it's me stopping talking in a minute. Not having anyone else with me and sitting still. I hadn't really realised that I was seeking all 3 of those things. So with that in mind, I'm going to put the phone down and enjoy a few minutes of peace here before I move on. One last thought before I get up from this spot by the fallen tree is that taking a moment to sit in the landscape, I am a part of the landscape rather than apart from the landscape. Do you get what I mean? Myself, my thoughts are reduced by taking a moment. I become aware of all of the rest of life happening around me, not just the other people here, but the trees, the wind, the insects, the birds, the plants, the grass, all of it, the life force, the spirit of place, the elements, all of that is happening all the time, and in the city too. But we are kept so busy, deliberately I believe, that our lives take greater and greater place in our awareness and our consciousness, and what's happening around us. And in this kind of place, the lives of, well, the energy of the rest of the lives around me give way. So I think that's something I've always enjoyed about nature, is that it's redressed the balance somewhat. It's reduced something. It's reduced it's hard to put into words. The world comes up around me and becomes bigger than me, so that I'm not in this self-centered place of ego where I can't escape my own thoughts and concerns. And you know, we all go through ups and downs, and of course, wherever we live and however much we can access nature, we will all go through times where our own experience overshadows every other single thing in our lives, and that's okay. That's to be expected. But my point is that to seek to redress that balance and to feel a piece of the land and of nature around me, I think is only beneficial mentally, physically. And beyond that, it does nurture that sense of connection. I'm on the latter part of my big circuit now, so I know I'm roughly heading back towards the van. And I'm breathing deep, trying to take this feeling of peace, of connection, trying to carry it away with me, to nourish me as I think about the journey back into town. I'm on the latter part of my big circuit now, so I know I'm roughly heading back towards the van. And I'm breathing deep, trying to take this feeling of peace, of connection, trying to carry it away with me, to nourish me as I think about the journey back into town. So I've just done what I like to do when I'm out foraging, which is to decide on the last thing that I will pick, the last berry, the last herb, whatever it is. I won't pick anything after that, so I can turn off that part of my mind that's constantly looking for things to pick. And then I leave an offering. This time it was birdseed. I'd love to hear any more ideas that you have on offerings. I only want to leave things that are beneficial for the landscape. And it's, I think, a great way to show the deep sense of appreciation that comes from visiting these places and walking away with some of the bounty that they share with us. So I'd recommend offerings. And so I'm thinking as I'm on the path, a narrow path back to the van now, I'm thinking about how we're not taught these things. We're not taught how to be in the landscape. So I stopped there because some people came. Yeah, we're not taught how to be in the landscape, at least. That's not my experience, and the experience of many people, I think. And obviously that is different in different cultures, in different countries. So I don't even want to sort of narrow that down too much, other than to say generally in the West, many of us are not taught how to be in the landscape. And, you know, for me, my parents both came from Liverpool. My mum particularly a very poor background in a city only in her upbringing. Neither of them, beyond my dad taking me for walks on the heath, like neither of them had much experience in nature. I hope they would find that fair to say. My mum especially. Let's just seeing who's around the corner here. And yeah, there was someone. Yes. So, my dad had a real appreciation of wildlife. It's something he definitely passed on to me, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But in terms of feeling comfortable outside, knowing anything really about trees, anything at all about plants, picking anything, herbalism, wildcrafting, foraging, having any kind of connection with the land, any kind of ease in the landscape, that's all what I've been slowly learning myself. A great example would be wild swimming. I've pushed myself the last couple of years, and it's been, even to stand with my feet in water has been a move forward. So yeah, just thinking about that and acknowledging that really, rather than having any answer. So I guess I wanted to say all that in case, it was easy to get the impression from looking at the content that I put out, or other people's content really, that it's easy for me or for anyone to be in nature. I suppose it brings me to, that term rewilding, which, I'm in the process of finding out more about. Sort of wondering how to navigate that with issues of colonialism. But that's for another chat. Yeah, we have to push our boundaries safely with knowledge, having research. Don't go out and just eat mushrooms just for the sake of it. Obviously, I'd like to think that goes without saying, but I find I have to push myself regularly. I lay down fully in the grass for the first time in my whole life that I can remember a few weeks ago, and that is silly to me, but walking barefoot outside, gathering plants, being alone in nature, being in the dark outside, these are all little boundaries that I've been learning to cross. I'd love to know which boundaries you've had to cross around nature, what was easy for you that you were raised with, and what has been or is still a barrier to immersing ourselves more fully in nature. So I'm just on the very last leg of the path before I come out into the houses where my van's parked, and the sun is still dappled on the soil path through the leaves, but it's lost its brassiness, that light now. It's a lot softer and less intense. And I hear what I think is the speedway in the background, which I've not heard for a long time. So that's what's happening around me. I am tired, as you can hear, I'm sure, and hungry, looking forward to a cup of tea. And I will show you everything that I foraged when I get home in a sort of last picture and probably voice note too. But I just wanted to say while I'm here, happy autumn, early autumn, or spring if you live somewhere else. And I really hope that you've enjoyed accompanying me. It's been really nice for me. Oh, butterfly. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, if you want me to do more walks like this. If you're local, I am planning on doing some of these face to face next year. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I hope you're all having a beautiful weekend wherever you are, and I'll see you hopefully on Wednesday for Into the Cauldron. Ooh, unless it's already finished by the time I release this, in which case, see you soon. Thanks for sharing the path with me. Bye. Okay, and I'm back at home. It's a couple of hours later. I had some food. I put my feet up. I was knackered when I got home. So I will include a photo of everything that I've come home with. But basically I picked up mugwort, which I think I'll make some cleansing sticks with to burn. Blackberries, which I'm going to make some more jam from, because I've been eating the stuff I made lately every day. I just can't get enough of it, and it's good for your immunity. Just a few elderberries, which I like to include in tea, so I'll dry those out, and then a huge bowl of rose hips, hawthorn berries and leaves, and sloes. And this last combination, the rose hips, haws and sloes, I will add to... What will I add to? No, I think I've got what I need for that, actually. I will make my oxymel, which is basically these things plus apple cider vinegar and some kind of sweetener. So like syrup or maple syrup or agave or something like that. So that's just the berries, not the hawthorn leaves. I'll keep those for tea. And this, I included the recipe for this in the newsletter that just went out, the autumn newsletter, if you got that. And it is a really beautiful tasting ancient recipe. We know that the Romans used it at least. And I made it for the first time last year. I'm not a massive fan of fire cider with the whole kind of onions and garlic in there. It's a bit intense. It kind of puts me off drinking it. So the oxymel is more berry flavoured. So yeah, I made enough last year to get my household, which is 7 or 8 of us, because I live in a housing cooperative, through last autumn, winter, and I'm kind of going into this autumn again. And, you know, I've been leaning on that heavily because of COVID. So it's lasted a brilliantly long time. And yeah, I was keen to make more. And if I get more time in the next couple of months, the rose hips will still be out. So yeah, possibly the sloes, possibly the haws. I would love to make more. If not, rosehip syrup is an old favourite of mine as well. So yeah, just wanted to let you know what I've got planned for what I brought home. And thank you again so much for joining me for today's walk. And I'd really love to know what you think about anything that I said or mentioned, or anything. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll see you in the comments. Take care, and I hope you're having a good weekend. Bye.